is a story that I'll pop in and out of every once in a while. To this day, they have not released the name of this guy. There's no arrest record as far as I could find. The story's done. So that is what makes this extremely suspicious. The reason why I haven't done a follow-up episode on it, because there was nothing to follow up. I might have mentioned it since, but there's been no... Why would they protect this guy's identity if he's such a sicko? So that was kind of the end of it. That was the official reason of why they shut down the Solar Observatory. We don't know anything more. And so it's funny when you listen to these old episodes where I'm like, hey, this is going on and stuff like that. I think probably the real explanation is somewhere in between the reality and what we think it is. Originally, people were thinking it was aliens, or not like aliens for downloading child porn, but they were like like it detected some sort of alien anomaly, or they detected something with the sun. Remember that whole meme about observatories being shut down around the world? Remember all that stuff? And people were super panicked about it, and it turned out those observatories had been shut down for months for maintenance or something like that. I don't think it was this extreme alien thing, but I don't think it was just a creepy janitor. I think there's something else going on there. I don't know if it was compromised by nationals from another country, or someone was using it to do something worse than... There's very few things that are worse than that, but I'm talking like nuclear launch codes or something like that. So I don't know. They've never revealed any information about this guy, which would make me think either that's not the real reason, or this guy is related to someone so powerful that it would get covered up. So we have the Sunspot Solar Observatory story. And on the... So I think, on the other hand, this is basically its own episode. I hope you guys are enjoying this. On the other hand, we had covered the story about the YouTube shutdown. Remember that? Remember that, guys? And I remember YouTube was shut down for what, like 8... I ended up doing an episode on the YouTube shutdown. And I don't remember what I talked about, but I'm pretty sure I talked about what I'm about to talk about now. The YouTube was shut down. The YouTube sound like Grandpa. YouTube was shut down for what, 8 hours a day or something. I bet you guys don't even remember. If you guys hadn't heard this episode just now, you'd be like, "What? YouTube shut down?" That's why I had to do this as an outro. YouTube was shut down for like 8 hours or 10 hours. The official reasoning was they were doing a Google Plus. They were getting rid of Google Plus or Google Communities or something like that, and it caused the outage. But what we heard was there was really an alien. Someone uploaded alien footage to YouTube, and they had to shut down the whole system to keep it from spreading. Remember that? Remember that 2 days when that's all the conspiracy community talked about? And then we kind of trailed off for a couple weeks. People may still bring it up now. That's what's so funny about conspiracy theories. The immediacy of them and how quickly they get brushed aside. How quickly you have to recalibrate or ignore that stuff. The same people who were telling you YouTube was shut down because an alien video was uploaded. And you notice it hasn't been uploaded to BitChute, hasn't been uploaded to LiveLeak, it hasn't been uploaded to Band or whatever websites we're going to talk about. Pornhub, I don't know what was in the video. It has never appeared again, but there's such an immediacy. The same people who are telling you this new conspiracy theory, the same people who are trying to get you super hyped and scared and hyperventilating and all this stuff, apparently they want you to go into shock. Think about that. The next time you're reading a conspiracy theory that's based around making you scared, remember that that person most likely also believed YouTube was shut down because of aliens. It just goes and goes and goes. Those are the same people who post... what was that one? Like June 6, 2006, the world was going to end. That was a big one. We get those all the time. The happenings. Whenever you're reading this stuff, and see, that's what happens when you get to be old, like myself. You've consumed this stuff for so long that you just go, that's fake. That's fake. I give most stories due diligence. Like the Nazi thing, I really did believe the Nazis were trying to build this spaceship. I'm sure I'll get bombarded with clips about building Die Glock and all that stuff, but this specific story about, what was her name, Marina? I don't even remember her name, but you've seen pictures of her, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She's a Nazi collaborator, you didn't know that? Where was I going with this? So where was I going with this? Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So as an old person, you've seen so many dates and deadlines for people to die and the world to end and all this stuff that they're like, no, you got to look in the numerology and think about it. I mean, really want you to think about this. The next time someone's trying to convince you that something is going to happen, just know in your heart of hearts that person also tried to convince you that YouTube was taken down because a video of a reptilian was posted. And the second that proved not to be true, they completely stopped talking about it and moved on to something else. And then when that turned out to not to be true, they stopped talking about it and moved on to something else. I was in that cycle. Remember, I used to believe in far more of this stuff than I do now. I still believe in some of it, but I'd be like, oh no, I remember, this is going to sound stupid, but I remember people were saying that aliens were going to attack the 2012 Olympics, and I remember being slightly nervous. Like, oh no, maybe they know more than I do. Maybe this anonymous coward on Godlike Productions knows more than I do. But then that happens so many times, eventually you just go, well, that's ridiculous. And I'm going to wrap this up with this, because all that being said, I made a statement in this episode. Out of all the nonsense in this episode, the debunked Nazi Spaceship One, the Mormon Bigfoot, YouTube reptilian, Sunspot, which again is still a mystery. It's not been debunked at all. It's still a mystery. I made just a passing comment. I think it's maybe a 2-minute long segment where I said I think that the caravan coming up during I think it was the summer of 2018 was a CIA operation. I think the optics work for Trump. I think that. I said, I think this is going on, this is political. Why now? Why is this going on now? It's a very short segment. Guess what? LA Times, on October 2nd, 2020, just this month, ran an article about a new caravan leaving South America, coming up through Central America, coming up through Mexico to the U.S. border. This is the headline of their article. As another migrant caravan heads toward the United States, skeptics ask, why now? And the whole article is about, hey, remember when we had that migrant caravan back in 2018, right before the election, and people feel like that seemed to be giving good optics to Trump, how he was able to say, listen, this is why we need the wall, this is why you need to have the Senate, and da-da-da-da-da. And now it's happening again. There's a mass caravan coming out from South America 2 months before the 2020 election. And LA Times runs an article, and that's basically what the people are saying. They go, why now? Is someone organizing these people to do this before these major elections so it rattles voters in America? That's the difference between the sexy conspiracy theories that everyone wants to talk about, and they'll get 50,000 views on their videos when they want to talk about Pizzagate. They want to talk about Illuminati. They want to talk about satanic imagery and music videos and all that stuff. And old hats. People who've been doing this for 30 years. Stuff like that. I called it. I don't know if that's exactly what was going on, but back in 2018, this was the only podcast, definitely the only conspiracy theory podcast that was saying that, hey, why now? Like, why is this happening now? I find it kind of puzzling that this is going on. We're getting all of this footage and stuff like that. Why is this going on now? Everyone else wants to talk about reptilians. These are the conspiracy theories that are hidden in that sci-fi fantasy. Old conspiracy theorists learn to see the web that all the other weird... Sure, I can see why people would think that reptilians are ruling the world, and I can see why you would think that these news anchors are twitching out because they don't have enough adrenochrome. I can see why those connections exist. But you gotta look through that stuff to see stuff like this. It's not a super sexy conspiracy theory. It involves real people in misery trying to leave one part of the world for another part of the world. It involves politicians sitting around debating stuff. It involves voters trying to watch the news and figure out what to vote. It's not sexy. It involves real people. But this is real conspiracy theory stuff. And it's funny because I made that comment, and it was kind of an offhand comment, but it was something that I really thought was true, and now we have mainstream media asking the same question. Why is this happening again? Those are the conspiracy theories that you learn about when you really delve into the topic. When you really get into it. I know it's not as interesting as the Nephilim, but if you really want to be a conspiracy theorist, I don't recommend it. There's not a lot of money in it, but if you enjoy conspiracy theory, if you enjoy examining conspiracy theory, this is the type of stuff you look for. And just over the ages, You go, oh, that's weird. I remember at the time in 2018, I go, this is weird. This is weird timing for this. There's always immigration into the United States. There's always people trying to get into the United States, but this is odd. Now it's happening again. So yeah, I have now ascended to the splinter of conspiracy theories. Everyone else is just a Ninja Turtle, which is still pretty dope. I'm not talking trash about my conspiracy podcast pals. They're all still pretty awesome. However, there does have to be a splinter among the Ninja Turtles, and being a Ninja Turtle is pretty dope. Again, I'm not trash talking them on that. They're Ninja Turtles. You're a Ninja Turtle as well. But if you want to ascend, if you want to be the splinter of conspiracy theories, just do this for 30 years. Read nonsense for 30 years. 1. 2. When you get you have to start building up an immunity to the BS and to the nonsense, so you can recognize it and go, oh, that's the YouTube reptilian guy. Oh, that's the YouTube oh, that's probably the YouTube reptilian guy. You got to build that up. If I find a conspiracy theory that I don't believe in, I'll still research it. I'll look into it and go, and then I'll go, no, that's nonsense. If I find a conspiracy theory I do believe in, I'll start researching it to how it could be wrong. Because you need to know all that stuff, and that really helps broaden it. And you just kind of, I recommend, you got to read a newspaper. Got to read the news every single day. Because, again, you can watch the YouTube videos and all that stuff. You can listen to podcasts and all that stuff, and that's fun. But if you really want to be an independent researcher, conspiracy theorist, you have to consume media from all sorts of levels. Don't watch the 100th video about Katy Perry's a Satan worshiper. That's not broadening your conspiracy theory base. Read about the Black Panthers. Read about the Black Panthers. Read about all the stuff we're afraid the government is going to do to citizens of the United States today. They did to the Black Panthers back in the 60s and 70s. Like gang stalking, putting them under surveillance, beating them up, getting them addicted to drugs, flooding all that stuff. Now it's fluoride in the water or vaccines, but all those conspiracies people worry about today, the government did to the Black Panthers in the 60s and 70s. So you have to go back to the stuff. It's not the most sexy conspiracy stuff. But if you want to be a splinter, that's my advice. If you want to be a conspiracy theory expert rather than a conspiracy theory tourist, that's my advice. This is its own episode. This actually, I think, might actually be longer than the episode itself. So I'm going to do my outro. deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be your email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. Twitter is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal conspiracy and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day. But I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, where we listen to an old episode with a new intro. This episode, I'm actually going to do a outro like I did yesterday's episode. And if you haven't listened to the second half of yesterday's episode, it's its own episode. It's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of additional information, follow-up stories, and stuff like that. This one is also really long. It's almost as long as the actual episode. If you guys are interested in the behind-the-scenes stuff, really recommend sticking around for the aftermath of this episode, because I really like director's commentary. I think this is a cool idea. Even though I came up with it, I pat myself a lot on the back when I do these things, but stick around. If you've already listened to the episode, you can cut to the ending, but I'd recommend listening to the whole episode again, because I'm going to be referencing stuff. But at the end of this episode, there's about another 20 minutes. I'm recording this intro after I just recorded the outro, because I figured it was going to be a long run. Stick around and listen to the end of this episode. First off, I want to give a shout out to Hoots Cheech. He's the one who recommended me doing this story, so go ahead and give Hoots a salute. Go ahead and listen to the episode. I'm going to add something to the end. I'm going to add an outro to the end. If you've already listened to the episode, you can jump to the end. This isn't a gimmick to get more listens or runtime or anything like that. So jump to the end. Otherwise, enjoy this episode, episode 242. The multiverse abides. President Trump talks about UFOs, and nobody knows how to take it. And then we take a look at a particularly bizarre near-death experience. No tunnel of light, no loved ones inviting someone to the other side or telling them it's not your time. No. This man who almost died saw the multiverse itself, and it was angry. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio.